Hey, everybody, welcome to another great episode of Phil and the Mic. I, as always, am Darrin Michael, and with me, the man who just got back from South Bend. He took an early morning flight. That's why he looks so exhausted, not because that's how he normally is. With the upset win, Notre Dame beats Michigan State yesterday. Phil Calise, man, how did you do it? I don't get it, man. You travel to Qatar, you give those guys a pep talk, they win. You travel to South Bend and they destroy Michigan State 70-52. What is the secret, man? How are you such a good motivator?
You see my picks? Everything I touch turns to gold right now. All right. That's how it works. If I'm involved, there's a W coming. That's how it works.
That's how it
And I
is.
am tired. It's a sleepless night. So yeah. The
Just
jet
one of those.
the red eye flight, they got one over in South Bend. You get on with seven old people. You get back off, you're in Newark. It's amazing. You're ready to go.
It's usually how flights work. It's pretty incredible. Well, that was pretty exciting. And my team even won last night. IU beat UNC 77-65. So a really happy day in the Michael and the Calise household, which is nice. So
And
it's
the
always
state
nice
of
when our
Indiana.
yeah, it always feels good. I wanted to tell you, man, the more importantly, the men's over 40 basketball league, we won our game again on Tuesday. And we beat this team for the third time this season. We actually started off the game. They were up 9-0, and then we went on a 52-32 run to just absolutely destroy our way into the finals, where we play the only team that beat us. They're 10-0. We're 9-1. It's the two heavyweights next week, and I cannot wait to tell everybody about how I made the winning shot. I'm just putting it
So
out
it's Georgia versus LS. Never mind. They're not.
there. That's
Never mind.
right. Oh, we're gonna get into that too. Um, and then last night I went to watch Aubrey cheer at the boys basketball game, and I mean it was a close game there for a while. At tip off it was 0-0. But then the final score they just barely lost by 40. But the interesting thing was that all of a sudden I see this guy. You can't, when you're in the stands, you can't really tell how tall or short these guys are. And I see this guy. He gets the ball in the middle, one dribble, and I figure, okay, he's just going to lay it up. No, two-hand dunk. This 6'4" white guy. I'm like, unbelievable. So they actually had two dunks. They had another dunk later in the game. A guy just blew by somebody on the baseline and went up for the dunk. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And they had a guy that was 6'9".
And they
So
lost by 40.
they lost by 40 points. Yeah. No,
Yikes.
no, not our team had a guy 6'9". The other team. The other team.
Got it.
The other
Got
team
it.
had two dunks. No, our team has 3 5'8" guys in the starting lineup. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? So anyway, so that was exciting. And then the other big news, and I know you're going to be really excited about this, but the U.S. men's national team beats Iran to go to the round of 16. Now, this is actually, you got to admit, this is pretty exciting, especially since we're not a football country.
Football. So my immediate attention turns to my condolences to the Iranians who are going to go home to that country after losing to probably not such a good event that may take place.
They're all just going to be lined up after the game, just going to be
Brings a
shot
whole
one
new
by one.
meaning to a clutch or not clutch performance in a game. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that. But the interesting thing that I thought, and you remember there was that whole big thing with the women's team and equality and all that stuff.
Yes.
Even though the revenue they bring in is like 10 times less than what the men's team brings in, um, they get a certain amount of prize money for getting to the round of 16. And because of the way that they drew up their new contracts, they have to split it with the women's team.
It's only fair there.
$6.5 million for these women just to sit home and do nothing but collect a check.
Hey, listen,
I just
if
put it out there.
if you get a really big signing bonus this Christmas season, you should probably give me half of it since I know you, we're friends, and that would be just fair.
Um,
At
my
least think about it.
my Christmas bonus isn't that big.
I understand.
Because I get monthly bonuses, so I don't get a big Christmas bonus.
All right, well that's good.
So
I like that.
I just get a little something. Before we get into football, and there's a lot of great stuff to talk about, I just wanted to mention we never even spoke about Albert Pujols. His season
Mm.
his career finally ended. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Obviously, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of those guys that played through the steroid eras that was never implicated in anything. There's a legitimate chance that he gets 100% of the vote. You never know. You
which
never
has
know.
still
But
never happened, right?
no, it happened once. It was Mariano Rivera, I
Oh,
think.
he did get it. That's right.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is ironic. A reliever got it, but yeah.
But I wanted to just mention a couple things that you got to keep in mind. And how great was Albert Pujols? Fourth all time in home runs, third all time in RBIs, 10th all time in hits, 12th all time in runs, second all time in total bases, and fifth all time in doubles.
And
Now,
first all time in Farheads.
he definitely is. But the interesting thing is, it's a tale of two careers, basically, which I think is really interesting. And in his first 12 seasons, he played 1,814 games. He basically didn't even miss any games. And
Hmm.
then his second 11 seasons, he only played 1,266 games. So when you compare the numbers, it's not really fair to look at the fact that he hit 450 home runs in his first 12 seasons and then 250 in his second 11. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna quantify that for comparison purposes, but his first 12, he batted 326 versus 256. His on base percentage was 417 versus 310. His OPS was 758 versus 417. Um, you know, I'm sorry, his OPS was 1.031 versus 758. So you look at all of these numbers and you can just see he was just so friggin' amazing in his first 12 years that he ended up just being kind of a below average player his last 11. But a couple things that I wanted to talk about was he never struck out more than 93 times in a season, which is, I think,
Amazing.
incredible. 9 times he had more walks than strikeouts. He had 100 RBIs 14 times. He had 40 home runs 7 times. His career on base percentage 374. He was an 11-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, 3-time MVP, 2-time Gold Glove, won 2 World Series titles. Postseason, he hit 321, 19 home runs, 54 RBIs, 1.007 OPS. So not only that, in 2022, he had kind of a rejuvenated year. He had the highest OPS since 2011 and the most home runs he's had since 2016. So I know that's a long, long introduction, but there's so many great things to say about this guy. So in your words, I want to know how great this guy really was. And then I want you to tell me kind of what the difference was in his two careers. Like why were his numbers so great in the first half and so average in the second half?
Well, I think you start when you think about Albert Pujols and the length of his career. I think what's neat, and I'm sure if we analyzed it for all the guys who end up finishing in the upper top 10 or 15 in these big stat categories, you're going to often see a legendary period of time like Pujols, right, where he had 12 first ballot Hall of Fame seasons. And then you're going to see just a very long career that what I like to call more of a compiling element
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the career. But it doesn't really get held. So there's guys that are compilers and they were never one of the best players at their position, but they play 20 plus years and they get into the Hall of Fame because they hit a couple of those milestone numbers and somebody goes, you got to put him in. He got, X, Y, Z.
yeah.
Pujols is legitimately one of the two most dangerous hitters for a decade plus time in his career. And then he also happened to have the longevity to then get to these crazy all time numbers. So, I mean, amazing player. When I think of Albert Pujols, what I think of is I'm trying to think real quick, possibly the best right handed power bat with a batting average of all time in Major League history. When I think about the
Yeah,
right-handed side of the plate, I think about the combination of power and batting average.
yeah, yeah.
I think you could put him right there at the 1-2. I mean, right at the top. And just the eye test, he was so dangerous. right? And then how do you explain away? He signs the mega contract where the Angels do what a lot of bad organizations do. They pay for previous performance instead of future performance.
That's right.
And
That's right.
he does get dinged up a little bit. And, it didn't work out probably as well. He had a lot of pressure going out to California to perform. He still had some really good years, but let's face it, at post 30 years old, the likelihood you're going to match the 12 years he had prior is almost impossible anyway. So he was never going to live up to it. And then he got dinged up a little. It was cool to watch him in his last year have such a great season.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ironically, where does he do it? Back in St. Louis. So
I know.
pretty cool. I just a pretty cool career. I mean, deadly hitter.
The interesting thing about him, the thing that I love, and I think what makes him a true first ballot Hall of Famer is that this is a guy that if he had retired after 12 years, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like that's how great he was. And then, like you said,
Without a doubt.
the last 11 years, he just compiled. I think he was an all-star 11 of his 12 years. So everything that happened, all his big years really happened his first 12 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely he's going down as one of the all-time greats. And yeah, he did compile and he padded his stats a little bit over the years. But I mean, if he had been able, I mean, listen, nobody is able to keep that up for 20 seasons.
Yeah. It's just exactly. Listen, you're not going to find more on one hand. You're not going to be able to count past five to get better right-handed power hitters with that kind of average.
And you know what? What the nice thing is, it's one of those farewell tours where the guy actually plays really well. Like normally the last years
in a
are
pennant
terrible,
race, amazing. No,
Yeah, so, I mean, it was
perfect ending to a rocky towards the end of his career is the greatest ending he could have had at that
Yeah,
age.
yeah,
And he
I
played in
agree.
the home run derby.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
amazing stuff,
yeah.
man. So it's exciting. And he got divorced during the season, so a lot of great things happening. Wife made a couple $100 million out of that. But anyway, so really good stuff. Really good stuff. I don't know what's going on with you, Phil, but you are just crushing it on your picks, man. I mean, Phil's big three. You went 2-1, 1-0 with your best bet, 24, 12-1 on the season, 7-5 on best bet.
Scorching hot.
It's unbelievable. Fill up your bank account even better, 3-1, 1-0 on your lock of the week. You're now 24-16, really on fire with your NFL picks. 7-3 with your locks. You have just really turned it up. Now
8-3 on locks now with that one.
It's 8-3.
Yeah. No, because I had two best bets. I hit them both.
There were two best. You're right. There were two best bets last week. Man, you spoiled us last week. I made so much money I can't even keep track. But it brings up something really interesting, and that is college football. The college football playoff. It's not quite set. We still have one more week of games, but the interesting thing was there were some teams that had an outside shot that blew it, plain and simple. I still am trying to figure out how University of Michigan beat the crap out of Ohio State. I mean,
I could tell you. I mean, I had Michigan in the game. I could tell you how.
You did.
Ohio State's become a finesse team that wants Ohio State is a finesse team now. They've become, and this is, listen, as you put massive globs of yogurt down your palate. Ohio State plays in the Midwest, but they recruit like an Alabama to some extent at certain positions. But what we're seeing here is they had a run with the Bosas of the world and the Chase Youngs of the world where they were able to be a big time defensive team for short periods of time.
Yep.
But they're mostly like a run and gun type of team, right? We talk about all the quarterbacks that have missed in the NFL, but they've put up massive numbers and won Heisman's and been at the top of the heap. And they've produced amazing wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've become in a cold weather area is a finesse throw it team. And when they actually now run into a team that has a little bit of that physical mentality, that also, while can't maybe match the 4 and 5 star recruits they have, has a great coach. And I'm saying Harbaugh is a great coach. He's gotten a bad rap, and obviously he had a period of time where he was struggling there. But
Yep.
you don't take a team to the Super Bowl. You don't do a lot of the things he did if you're not a really good coach.
It's
So
true. It's true.
he knows what he's doing. He built a run and tough program there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Ohio State's got hit in the mouth the last couple of years and not know how to answer because they don't play great in the front four. And so all of a sudden, you can do some things on them. And they had a great game plan. Listen, last year, Michigan ran down Ohio State's throat, like bullied them and ran down their throat. So this year, Harbaugh goes, they're going to try to stop the run. We're just going to throw over the top.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they exploited going deep, and they hit a bunch of big plays. And then
Did.
late in the game, they broke a couple of huge runs. But to be honest, if you look at the stats, that all happened in the fourth quarter. Ohio State was kind of taking away the running game
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
and
I
was
mean,
getting beat on the passing game, and then it flipped late in the game.
yeah. I mean,
So Michigan's figured out a way to bully them. They figured out a way to bully a finesse team. Ohio
they
State
really
is no
have.
longer like a tough team, a tough cold weather team. They're more of a finesse 5 star recruit wide receiver SEC style team, except they play in 10-degree weather in November and December.
Well, you
It's
know,
it's it's got its drawbacks.
yeah, no, listen, you're 100% right. I mean, the interesting thing was that, Ohio State was up 20 to 17 at the half.
Yeah.
And
Oh
then
yeah, they came out well,
yeah,
actually.
Michigan outscored them 28 to 3 in the second half. I mean, it was
Well, and possibly one of the greatest lines ever said, and I'll give it the credit to Harbaugh here. Well, he probably took it from someone else, but it's a hilarious line to describe Ryan Day. He goes, Ryan Day started on the. I don't know if you heard this line, but it's really funny. He
no, I
said it
didn't hear
leading
it.
into the game, so it's not after the game. So it was even funnier because he said it going into the game. He said he was getting a lot of criticism over the years, right? Harbaugh's gotten a lot of criticism, and Ryan Day's like, brand new, inherited what a program, right, from Urban Meyer and all this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he said something to the effect of, a couple more times we beat them, he'll start to feel the pressure. And he said, Ryan Day started at third base in his career, and now after this week, he's going to end up at second. And
That's
so
actually interesting.
it's
I
a good
like that.
line. Well, I mean, he inherited such an incredible,
Oh,
rich stockpile of recruits, and he's actually won nothing with them.
no,
I
no.
mean, when you think about the amount of first round, but think about the receivers, right? The Jets have a stud, the Saints have a stud. They got a few more studs sitting there. I mean, Stroud was right there for the Heisman last year. He's not going to win it this year, but I mean,
No.
we always talk as Notre Dame fans like we're a quarterback away. Well, Ohio State has got the quarterback, has the receivers, still keeps losing in certain games, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
true.
coaching matters too. Like getting over the hump matters too. So
It's
I don't
true.
know.
And you know what? And there's probably a lot of people out there that I was hearing that were saying, oh, you know what? OSU played a team that was as good as they were,
Nah,
and they
no
deserved to
way.
be in the playoff. And I'm like, dude, you got destroyed by
Thank
this
you.
team
Thank
at
you for
home.
bringing this up. There's two biases in the media.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to tell you in the committee room. The committee room, there's an obvious SEC bias.
obviously.
But in the media, Michigan and Ohio State and the Big Ten to a lesser extent, because they don't have the cachet of a lot of teams, but even if Penn State's in the mix, there's a Big Ten a media bias about the Big Ten, where there's a lot of teams, reputable name teams, that could never lose by 23 points at home against their rival on the last game of the season and ever have anyone utter the words, I still think they're one of the 4 best teams.
That's right.
But
That's right.
somehow Ohio State fits into that category where they can get absolutely destroyed in the second half of a football game at home. And somehow I have to listen to people, quote unquote, reputable people say they're one of the 4 best teams.
Yeah.
Now, you could take Ohio State's name out and insert even Texas, insert USC, insert Notre Dame, insert a bunch of other teams. Nobody would say that about them if they lost on the last game of the year by 23 at home.
That's right.
No one would say that. And the same people are like, Alabama belongs in the tournament. They're right there when they lost 2 games, could have lost 4 other games, had never controlled games well this year, and people want to put them right there. So really what the media wants is everything they complain about. They want different teams, but they're the first ones trumpeting
Yep.
the idea that with just a little chaos this Saturday, they'd prefer Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama in the Final
Yeah.
Four.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they want. Meanwhile, they complain that it's the same teams, but they're literally trying to knock out other teams to put these teams in. So let's put Ohio State fresh off a 23-point loss, and
Yep.
let's put Alabama, who hasn't had a good win all year, really, and has lost twice, and now the LSU loss looks even worse, right? And so let's put them in. Let's just have an SEC Big Ten title because that's really what the media wants. That's the only two conferences they care about.
Listen, you're 100% true. And it was interesting because not only was OSU knocked out, LSU was knocked out too because they lost to A&M by
What
15 points.
what a stinker, Brian
I
Kelly.
mean, seriously, right? I mean, A&M is not a good team, and then you've got South Carolina. I mean, what a time for a team to come alive. I mean, they
Yeah,
they go and
I
they
had that
beat,
game. That was my best bet.
that was right. They go and they beat Tennessee by 25, who was ranked number 5 at the time, and then they go and they beat number 8 Clemson. There goes any chance that they're going to make the Final
Yep.
Four. And then you've got number 21 Oregon State, who beats number 9 Oregon. So all these
I don't
teams
know
that
if you
were
know about
kind of
that
good,
game. They were down by 27 points in that game.
were they really?
Yeah, they were getting destroyed. Came back and won.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So
And let me just say this too.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, listen, there is the potential. So for me, right, and the only game I got wrong was the game where I picked. I don't really think I picked it with my heart. USC Notre Dame was a game where, listen, Caleb Williams won the Heisman Saturday night. If there was any doubt, especially
Oh
with
yeah.
some of the other stuff that happened, right? The
Oh
Tennessee
yeah.
quarterback got hurt. The Alabama team is just he doesn't deserve it. Ohio State quarterback doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
The kid deserves it, Caleb
There's
Williams. And it's
nobody.
not he didn't come out of nowhere. He was great at Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Lincoln
yeah.
Riley. I want to separate two things about Lincoln Riley because this is the narrative. You could look at Lincoln Riley. He goes to USC and rebuilds the program literally overnight. Well, it's not a rebuild when you take 20 free agents with you, including the Heisman Trophy winner. That's not a rebuild. That's literally today's college football only allowed. Only Lincoln Riley could have only pulled this off with the new rules, right?
Yeah,
He
only.
dips into
That's
the
right.
transfer portal, grabs 4 and 5 star recruits and a Heisman Trophy quarterback. And yes, in a Pac 12 conference, that's solid, but not great. Overnight he's 11-1 and he's got a
Yep.
shot with one more win to go to the playoffs. So he is a good coach.
That's
He's an
right.
excellent coach. But what he did is only can be done because of the new rules.
That's right.
Now, USC is dangerous. USC is actually a team, the only team. I'll go on record right now, and I'm not gonna be hypocritical because I want to be fair about what I'm about to say. USC is the only team that could beat Georgia in the playoff. They're the only team that could beat Georgia. And ready for this? I don't think they win this Saturday and don't even make the playoff. And I'm not being hypocritical. I think they're going to have a tough time off an emotional win against Notre Dame, playing a tough Utah team. I think that
Yep.
game's going to be super tough. It's a preview of one of my picks that's coming.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I think they're the only team that could beat Georgia because, again, they have 5 star receivers and a Heisman Trophy quarterback that can absolutely destroy a game with his legs. And we know that's a difference maker and an intangible that can make a team who's not as good beat a team, right? We've seen it over the years. A incredible quarterback gifted with his legs can neutralize the better team sometimes in a 1 game format. So I'm going to go on record as saying that is the only team that can beat Georgia in the playoff and they won't get there. And that's just
So,
life. If they lose, they don't deserve to get there, but I'm just saying it. They're the team because of Caleb Williams that could do it.
well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. I mean, the college football playoff right now is you've got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, and 4 is USC. So after this weekend, because yeah, you've got Utah versus USC, which is a great matchup. You've got Kansas State versus TCU, which is a great matchup.
Well,
You've got
you're
LSU.
being real kind with that great matchup, K-State TCU. There,
Well,
you couldn't name a player on either team, and no one's watching that game. But go ahead.
that's not true. That's not true. I could, but I'll give it
I
to
won't
you
quiz you on it.
for the sake of time. I'll tell you after the show's over. Okay.
All right, you tell me after the show.
LSU at UGA. Everybody thought that might have been
That
a good
that
game.
took a big hit. Yeah.
It's not going to be a good game. And then obviously, Purdue at Michigan. I mean, really, Purdue is in
Well,
the
la-
championship game.
well, again, if the Big Ten wants to, and this is why I hate the Big Ten. I really do. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I hate everything about the Big Ten. You want Ohio State in the playoff. How about you get rid of these stupid divisions? And guess what you'd get? You'd get an Ohio State Michigan rematch in the Big Ten title game. They do this to themselves with their stupidity and their divisions, which make no sense and they're unbalanced. The divisions are unbalanced. Why
Yep.
is Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan in the same division?
How does
Like,
that make any sense?
how did anybody ever go, okay, guys, we have an idea. we have too many teams now, right? Because we're not the Big 10, we're the Big 18 or whatever they are from all over the country. Let's have two divisions. Okay, sounds like a great deal, Charlie. What do we want to do here? Well, let's pick East and West, even though nobody further west than the Mississippi River. All right, great, sounds good. And what are we doing with the divisions? We're going to balance them out, right? Yeah. Let's go Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan in the East. That's the only three good teams. No. We got Wisconsin and Iowa. That'll carry the West for the next 20 years. Oh, great idea. Throw Minnesota in there and you got yourself a bargain. Perfect. Done. Who comes up with this? These are like these are supposed to be smart people. Who comes up with this idea? Whoever thought, well, we don't want Michigan, God forbid, Michigan and Ohio State play twice. No, you wouldn't want your two best teams going head to head twice. That's terrible. Like on a neutral field, get out of here. That sounds too good to be true. So they ruin it. And now they want Ohio State to back their way in off a 23-point loss, sitting at home watching Michigan beat the Purdue. Like, come on. Like that's what you got. You got an 18-point underdog in a Big Ten title game. Congrats.
But listen, that leads me to the main question. If you think that USC is going to lose, who gets the fourth spot?
Yeah, I hate it. I hate that I think USC is going to lose because, okay, my hope is that everybody wins. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
And that's not like me because I don't like USC. I'm a Notre Dame fan. So this is not going to paint. It's not exciting for me to say that Michigan and USC are making the playoff as two of Notre Dame's biggest rivals and two teams I absolutely hate. But I do think Georgia wins. Obviously, Michigan's beating Purdue.
Yep.
I do think TCU finds a way to win that game. I got to pull for TCU. What a nice story. And then the fourth spot, it's you're picking between letting teams in that are sitting at home Saturday.
I mean, all the other teams are sitting at home, basically.
Right. Because Clemson ruined their chance because they lost last week.
I mean, look.
So because I would have put Clemson in if Clemson would have won last week and then won the ACC title, but they didn't. Yeah. So who am I putting in? So it's a great question. Since I'm calling for a bit of chaos, who am I putting in, Ohio State or Alabama? Because that's what's coming down to. I cannot put Alabama in. I can't put Alabama in with two losses. So I'm going to put Ohio State in with one loss.
I mean, they would kind of backdoor their way in.
They would, but they set the stage for that, right? Right now, what did the committee do? They made Alabama 5 and Ohio State 6, or vice versa?
No, vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, so they set the stage, and they want it. Somehow they've convinced themselves that they want Ohio State in the playoff off a 23-point loss, so they can then lose to Georgia, 37-24 or something, whatever. So, yeah, Ohio State's going to back their way in. If there's one slip between TCU and USC, if there's one slip, Ohio State's getting in. If there's two slips, Alabama's getting in too, and then the committee's throwing a secret party.
But let me ask you a question. Right? 3 undefeated teams left. That's it, right? You've got UGA, Michigan, and TCU. Okay, everybody else has losses. So if one of these guys lose their championship game because they played so well during the season, because they lost their last game in the championship to a good team, do you still put those 3 guys in? I mean, whether they win or lose, are those 3 teams going to be in the playoff?
Well, the interesting thing is,
that's the question.
Michigan has no good wins outside of Ohio State.
No, they don't.
If they get beat to Purdue, that's not a good loss.
No, listen, Michigan's not going to lose.
You threw it out there, so I'm just saying. Georgia's in with a loss no matter what.
Right, Georgia's in no matter what. I think TCU is in no matter what also.
If you replace the name TCU with one of the household names, I agree with you. Because they're TCU, I think they're out.
You think so? Wow.
I don't like it. I'm just telling you, they carry 0 weight in the committee room. They carry 0 weight in the media, and they carry 0 TV ratings. TCU has got to win this week. A loss, they're going to drop them.
Yeah, but
they're going to drop them.
You know what though? They did beat a number of ranked teams. They probably had the best schedule.
I agree.
Of any of the other ones.
I'm saying if their name was any other team, if they were even Texas, like in their own conference, if they were Oklahoma, like a bigger name Big 12 team, I think they get more respect and credit even in a loss.
All
but I
right.
don't think they're going to. Here's the interesting thing. Ready? Let's play out the scenario that I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
If USC and TCU win, there's nothing. There's no drama.
Right.
It's over. It's just those four are in and great. Let's go play. But if one of them loses, and I'm correct that Ohio State's the winner of the gets in. What are they doing with? Well, actually, let's play out a scenario where TCU loses and makes it.
Yep.
Where does TCU stay ranked in your mind?
If they lose and they make it, what about USC?
Out, lost. So Ohio State's getting in.
I think you keep you. I think you keep them at 3.
You keep TCU at 3?
I think you keep them at 3. I just think that, I mean, if you're going to put Ohio State in, they had such a bad loss to Michigan. I don't see how you can move them over TCU, who's had a really strong season overall.
Yeah, I
Even though
understand
the
that.
name isn't there, I think, on one hand, because I don't think the committee wants to see another OSU Michigan rematch. I think they want to see OSU play Georgia and then Georgia play Michigan. They don't want to see the Georgia TCU matchup.
Yeah, I hear. No, I hear you. I mean,
That's
listen.
that's
And
kind of
by the
how I'm
way,
thinking
this
about
is set up. So Georgia actually is in a worse position this year, being the 1 seed,
it.
because they're much more likely to get a dangerous 4 seed.
Yeah, it's
If
true.
we all can admit that TCU is probably in over their heads in terms of just talent and just everything, kind of they threaded that fine that needle this year, and they're going to make it maybe. But like Michigan gets the much easier draw.
That's true.
If Ohio State sneaks back in, or if USC is the 4 seed, that is a more dangerous team to Georgia in a semifinal for sure.
Well, listen, we're going to find out sooner than later because Friday night, tomorrow night, is the
Yeah,
Utah USC game, which is
yeah,
going to be
a lot is
very
figured
close.
out already by then. If
Yeah.
USC loses, like I think they're gonna, holy cow.
And then at 12 o'clock on Saturday, you've got the Kansas State TCU. So
Yep.
we're going to know sooner than later, which is exciting. But let's get to Phil's big 3. Although I have a feeling it's going to be you're going to have to pick 4 games this week, my man.
You want me to pick 4? All right, I only have the 3, but I'll do the 4.
You got
Um,
to pick. You got to
I'll go
pick the
rapid
top 4
fire.
teams.
I'll go
You
rapid
got to.
fire. We talked about it a lot already. I'm taking Utah over USC Friday night. They're getting 2.5 points, which already tells you Vegas knows how close the game really is. Um, to I watched the entire Notre Dame USC game. Notre Dame could have scored with them a lot more than they did. They turned the ball over twice. They Michael Mayer was a nightmare for them. They scored a lot, but they turned the ball over twice, and they did have a major hard time stopping Caleb Williams. But it was all on the ground on it was all off of like four missed sacks, and he spun out of it, and then he'd make a big play downfield, and then he
Yep.
ran a little bit on them. So he was the difference maker in the game. But I think Utah could put up damn near 45 in this game because Notre Dame would have if they didn't have turnovers. So I think Utah outlasts them and just makes one more big play because USC's defense stinks. USC's
Yep.
defense is the worst unit of any of the teams that can make a playoff.
Yep. It's true.
So I'm going to take Utah in the mini upset. It's a mini upset. It's not a big
Yep.
upset.
No, no.
I'm going to take TCU giving 2.5 equally, recognizing this is a coin flip game. I think everyone thinks that TCU is like the team ripe for getting beat. And I
Yep.
think this is going to be that Cinderella story where they do enough and win the game and get there to the playoff. And then obviously the glass slipper at midnight comes off and it's over. Um, what's the other game you want me to pick? Because I had taken my best bet being North Carolina over Clemson. So you want me to pick the Michigan Purdue game? You want me to pick the LSU Georgia game?
I want you to pick both of those games.
All right, so I'm picking all of them. Okay, so my best bet is North Carolina getting 7.5 over Clemson. Again, like I made the pick with South Carolina getting a bunch of points over Clemson, it's a little bit of a pick against Clemson more than it's a pick for North Carolina. I think Clemson's now bewildered. They're knocked out of the playoff. I just don't think Clemson's that good, and I don't think they should be giving a lot of points. I don't think they beat anybody comfortably. So again, while I got 17.5 last, 14.5, which was way too many points, South Carolina won the game outright. 7.5 still feels like too many, so I'm going to take the points. I wasn't prepared to take the other 2 games, so let me just what is Michigan is laying how many?
I don't even have this. I don't even have this.
I'll pull it up. Michigan is laying 16.5 as of today against Purdue. I'm laying the 16.5. Purdue's horrible. I wasn't planning to pick it, but Michigan minus 16.5. Um, I don't have to say anything about Purdue. And then I guess Georgia's laying 17.5 against LSU.
Wow.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take LSU, and I'm going to take LSU in this game because I'm sure Kirby Smart wants to win an SEC title. I'm sure he does, but their motivation's not that great in this game. It's really not. Like the LSU, Brian Kelly can salvage that loss by saying, listen, guys, let's go win an SEC title. It's his first year. He's excited. They could still make a great season out of a 10-win SEC title would be a great season for LSU, all
Yeah.
things being considered, despite the fact they absolutely laid an egg and they had a chance to make a playoff and now they're not. He can come up with enough, I think, to get the juice flowing in that game.
Yeah.
They haven't been
Yeah.
to an SEC title game, what have you. Hey, let's knock off the big boys. This is their championship game, whatever. I'm not saying they win the game, but Georgia's got to try to get out of here healthy. Georgia's got to try to get out of this game ready for the playoff.
We got
They've
two
been
more
told
games.
they're in no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
I take the 17.5. That just seems like way too many points. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how
No,
I'll go.
that's a good call. That's a good call. Let's shift really quick because I want to get through some NFL stuff really quickly. I got a few things I want to talk about. Number one, are the Jets a better team with Mike White?
Through 1 week, yes. I think you got to be very careful.
And
You
I
got to be,
let me specify that
yeah, they look like a better team for
for
1 week.
this season, the rest of the season, who gives them a better chance of making the playoffs?
If gun to my head, I'm going to go Mike White because in 1 week, although it was a putrid Bears defense, and that's why I'd like to see more because if he lays a major egg this week in Minnesota, it
Yeah.
cancels it out.
Which he should. Minnesota doesn't exactly have a great
No,
defense.
they don't have a good defense. But I'm just saying, if he doesn't play as well this week, and then let's say lays an egg against Buffalo, who is a good defense, then all of a sudden you go, wait a second. Zach Wilson would have beat the Bears too. Maybe not looked as good, but they would have beat the Bears. So yes, I do look. The team looks like they like him better. They look like they're more comfortable with him. He reads the field better. I always hear this term, but I think it matters. He throws a catchable ball. He throws an
Yep.
accurate catchable ball. I think there's a lot to be said for that more than the cannon arm Wilson has. So yeah, I mean, as of right now, he looks like he gives them a better chance to win 10 games and get to the playoffs. I couldn't argue that.
Interesting. Interesting. Number two, the Broncos are now 3-8. And this is a team that was supposed to be really good this year. One
And the
in
team hates
five,
him. And the team
one
hates
in
him.
yeah, 1-5 at home. You got a guy that's making almost $50 million at quarterback who's playing just atrociously. You're John Elway. Gun to your head. What do you do?
You announce that you're stepping aside from your football activities at Denver, and you say sorry for what I left you with, but I'm gonna go off and go to Aruba for a year.
I mean,
It's quite possibly the worst trade of all time
I mean,
in
they
NFL
they gave
history.
up picks and they signed him to a massive deal.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah,
the
you
the,
lost out
the
a
one
lot.
they always make fun of is that Cowboy trade when they traded for what not Herschel Walker. Who they trade
Yeah,
for?
yeah.
Yeah,
Cowboys. Yeah, yeah.
right.
They
It was like
didn't they trade? No,
four first-round picks. I don't know.
no, the best was the Ricky Williams. They basically
Well,
traded two
that was
drafts.
they traded
Yeah,
that was Dick
yeah.
that traded this whole draft. But this is bad. And you know what? It
It is
saved
bad.
Seattle's franchise, who had gotten roped by Douglas on the Jets with some big trades, and now they just got the ultimate great trade back. So
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Crazy, crazy. So Browns beat the Bucks 23-17 last week in overtime. What are your expectations now that DeShaun Watson is going to be playing this week? I think actually right now he's getting a massage, but he's scheduled to play practice this week, and he is going to be playing on Sunday. What should we expect out of the Browns for this game and the rest of the season with DeShaun Watson back?
the the I think I mean he's a good quarterback. He hasn't played in a while, but I'm sure he's going to step in. They got a good running game. It's not a bad spot for him to step into.
Yeah,
Also, because they're 4-7, they're so unlikely to make the playoffs. He kind of steps in without a ton of pressure. He
yeah.
can more build for next year because aside
Sure.
from them basically running the table, they're not going to make the playoffs. So ironically though, the big win by Brissett does give him a chance to look at the season and go, if I run the table, I'm a hero after all this, and we make the playoffs, like incredible. I'll be
Yeah.
rooting vehemently against him, and I think the Cleveland Browns have become an unlikable team now that he's the quarterback.
No, it's true. It's true. Number four, the Packers are 4-8. Is it time to play Jordan Love? And who's their QB next year? Because he's got his 5th-year option coming up. Can you believe that guy has been with Green Bay for 4 seasons already?
Yeah, it's a little bit like Aaron Rodgers waiting on replacing Brett Favre, except that, I mean, what's the likelihood Julian Love is anywhere near as good? But
Or Jordan Love, his brother.
oh, Julian, Jordan, yeah, Peter. Um, no, if Aaron Rodgers plays, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy enough to play, to me, you just play him.
I
You
mean,
just play him.
yeah, but I mean, if Jordan Love is
He's
your
an all-time
backup,
great player, though. I think you play him. You let him finish out the year, and if you part ways at the end of the year, you part ways. But
yeah.
didn't he sign an extension? So he'd have to be traded.
Yeah, God only knows how much guarantee it is, but I guess they don't mind
Hey,
just
listen, he might fit in a nice jet. He might fit in jet green instead of Green Bay green.
well, that brings up thought number 5, and that is Jimmy Garoppolo. He's playing, he's not the best quarterback around, but the guy is probably the most solid. He doesn't make the mistakes. He's able to control the game. What uniform is he wearing next year?
He's signing a long-term extension with the Niners at the end of this year.
Even though they have Trey Lance.
Yes, sir.
You don't
Yeah,
think
because the thing about it is that it's the same system the Jets run, where you see Mike White seamlessly come in, and because he can look around and he could survey the field and throws a catchable ball, he might be Jimmy Garoppolo light. He might be as good as Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know what Mike White's floor and ceiling is, but a game managing quarterback with accuracy and ability to scan the field. The system is not built for needing a Pat Mahomes to run the Niners, and the Jets system is the same, right? It's the same family tree. It's the running, pulling guards, running out. It's that system. Tight ends. A lot. Yeah, I think Jimmy Garoppolo gets the extension. I think the Niners go, oops, we made a mistake, and Jimmy G is going to win the job next year. Trey Lance, yeah, listen, they're only guaranteed for 4 years. He's hurt this year, so this is already year 2, correct? So basically, you're looking at a situation where you could say, okay, go compete for the job next year. Jimmy G beats him out for it, and you're in year 3, and they could trade him.
yeah.
I think they're comfortable in their skin, that organization, that they go, all right, we made a mistake.
Interesting. Interesting. I love it. I love it. Let's talk about Phil's game ball. All right, we got 3 great choices this week. Mike White. I love when he's up for the
We're
game
giving it to
ball. I
him.
love when
I'm
there's a
giving it to him.
backup. I love when there's a backup quarterback. 22 of 28, 315 yards, 3 interceptions. His rating was 149.3 and a 31-10 win over the incredible Chicago Bears. But let's not so fast, not so fast. We also have Josh Jacobs, 33 rushes, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, plus 6 catches and 74 yards. So he had 303 yards of offense, 2 touchdowns, including an 84-yard improbable game-winning touchdown at the end of that game, which was incredible. And then you got Justin Jefferson, obviously just doing what he does best. 9 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown in a 33-26 win versus New England. You throw the ball to him, he catches it. It's just the way that it is.
Yes, sir.
Who's getting your game ball this week?
Giving it to Mike White. Come on.
You got to give it to the backup
You come
quarterback.
in and you throw for 70+% completions and 3 TDs. Come on.
All right.
Let's go.
Cool deal. Cool deal. Well, now is among my favorite times of the show, and that is fill up your bank account, man. Let's just review for everybody. 24-16, 8-3 on the locks. Phil, tell us, man. Come on. Give us more wins. Make us more money. We're all becoming millionaires.
I've been making a lot of people money, right?
Yeah, seriously.
All right. So we're gonna kick off. We don't always do this show in time for the Thursday night game, but we are. We're coming to you at Thursday morning. So about
Good.
12 hours till kickoff when the Bills go to New England in a mega monster game, right? I'll give you a funny stat. Usually you're the one that's doing the stat stuff. The Buffalo Bills enter the month of December, ready for this, folks, without a division win. They are 0-2 in the division with 4 games remaining.
Wow.
So that's an interesting spot to be in. So the Bills need this game a lot more than people realize because they can't afford to lose this game and win the division. They need to win this division. And this is not your brother's New England Patriots team. This is Mac Jones and a very mediocre team.
Right.
I'm going to take the Bills and lay 3.5 because I just don't think that spread's big enough. I think the Patriots are getting a little too much respect for this in this game. And I think this game does 2 things. It signals that the Bills are back to still be in the front runner to win a very good AFC East.
Yep.
And I think it also signifies the Patriots at 6-6 are probably going to have a very hard time now making the playoffs. And based on their schedule, which is actually pretty tough, I think they got a bunch more losses coming to them. So I'll take Buffalo.
Nice. Nice.
Next game, I'm going to say I called betting against the Bucks last week, and I thought the Browns were going to be a tough opponent.
Yep.
I'm going to go the other way this week, and I'm going to take the Bucks. And I'm actually trying to find the stupid game. Where is it? Oh, it's the Monday night game.
Monday
Sorry,
night game.
I went from the Thursday game to the Monday game. Um, I'm going to take the Bucks and lay 3.5. I think the Saints are just done, and the Saints stink on the road. And I just think they're done. And I think the Bucks now are like, holy cow, we got to, like, this division stinks. It's been there for the taking. We got to come back out and play well. I think the Bucks do that at home, and they comfortably win. So I'll take them laying 3.5.
Okay.
Two other games. I'm gonna take and ride the hot hand of Mike White +3 against the Vikings. I'm not doing it as much about Mike White though, as I'm doing it about the fact that while everybody's talking about the Justin Jefferson Sauce Gardner matchup, which could be
Yeah.
good,
Could
if
be.
they even line up with each other, because Sauce stays on one side of the field, and they showed the stats. It so happens that Jefferson always lines up on the opposite side, like 65% of the time.
Oh
I don't know
wow.
how often these two are going to actually match up with each other. That's going to be the funny thing. But I'm taking it because I don't think they have anybody. I'm talking about the Vikings on the offensive line that can block Quinn and Williams up the middle. And I think Kirk Cousins, who does not like up the middle pressure,
Yep.
because he's not that mobile, is going to have a big time trouble in this game. So I think the Jets actually win a game where Mike White may not look as good as people think he's gonna, but I think the Jets win with their defense. And they get 3, by the way, Jets 3. And then my best bet, I'm putting an asterisk next to my best bet. My best bet is only my best bet if Lamar Jackson is playing for the Ravens. He's a late added to the practice I saw this morning. He didn't practice yesterday.
Yep.
If he doesn't play, we're not betting this game, and this game's off. It doesn't count because I can do that because I wouldn't actually make a bet until Sunday. Ravens -8. I think Lamar Jackson's hurt all week, how they lost another game they shouldn't have lost. Um, they now got the Bengals breathing down their throat for the division,
Yep.
and the Broncos are a dead man walking. The
Yeah.
team hates Russell Wilson. They can't score.
Yep.
I think this is going to be a game that they're super pissed off about. And I think if Lamar Jackson plays, I'm giving the 8 as my best bet. If he doesn't play, just scratch the game, and I'll make my best. I won't have a best bet this week, but that's my picks.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, it all sounds good. It all sounds good. So we'll have to see what happens. But I know I'm putting a lot of money. How much should we put on the money on this?
I think you put your kids' Christmas presents.
Kids Christmas.
So
Wow.
that's to be determined, depending on how many kids you have and how much you spend on them. You say, hey, listen, honey, I'm gonna double this. Just give me a minute. Hold off on clicking submit on the Amazon cart. Give me a minute. Let me double up, and then we'll have. Then you get your wife a little extra something because you just doubled up on my picks.
Nice, nice. Well, we got some two more things I want to talk about. We got some late breaking news, and that is the committee, the college football committee, or the college football has just signed the Rose Bowl. So
Yep.
it looks like the college football playoff, the 12-team playoff, will be good to go in 2024, which is exciting. Really, really exciting.
Yeah, sped it up 2 years. So you only have this playoff and next
Yep.
year's playoff, and then you get to the 12 team.
And that'll be really exciting. Talking to, and college football is looking at this like, oh my, I mean, they're drooling because of the amount of money they're going to make. I mean, they're going to make tons more money on this, which means the
Yep.
TV deals are going to be bigger. But it's exciting, and then more importantly, and I think congratulations are in order. Tonight marks my 100th Pilates class. They have
Nice job.
a board. They have a board for people that get to 100. So I will be signing that board tonight, and I'm sure that's going to be the main topic of conversation next week, which is cool. So I'm pretty stoked about that, man. It should be.
Yeah, we should lead the show with the 100 Pilates. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
You're
We're gonna
the
talk
Albert
all about
Pujols
it.
of Pilates.
I'm gonna bring in video. I'm gonna bring in audio of
Okay.
everybody congratulating me, all the women giving me hugs with their little spandex on and everything. And hope my wife doesn't listen to this. But all good stuff. All good stuff. So amazing weekend coming up for college football. Amazing weekend coming up for NFL, man. This is just such a great time of the year. So many great things are going on now. And I don't know about you, Phil. I'm really, really looking forward to the next few days. But great episode as always. Hope everybody enjoyed it. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody back here next week. So make some money. Tell your friends if you like the show. Tell your friends if you don't like the show. Tell people you like. Tell people you hate. Tell your family. Tell your mailman as he's driving by. Tell your dentist when you're going to get your mouth drilled, whatever the case may be. Let's keep it going. Hopefully you're having fun with us. Phil's insights are on point again, as
Let's go.
always.
Let's go.
This guy is the man. This guy is the man. I'm just putting it out there. So have a great weekend, everybody. And thanks for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you next time.
See you.